You know, Sefira is a very interesting time. On the one hand, it's a countdown to Matan Torah, a countdown to when we receive the Torah. On the other hand, we're in mourning. We're mourning for the Talmidim of Rebbi Akiva who passed away during this time period. We don't shave, we don't listen to music because we are in mourning. So what is Sefira? Is Sefira a happy time or is Sefira a sad time? That's question number one. Question number two is that depending on how you count the year, the 8th month will either come out to be Cheshvan or the 8th month will come out to be Iyar. And we know that 8 always stands for, in Yiddishkeit, 8 stands for what is above nature, above Teva. The 7th month of the year is either Tishrei or Nisan, depending on when you start counting the year. Nisan and Tishrei you can understand being the 7th month. 7th always represents what's complete because Nisan is the time of Geula, the time of Cheres, the time of freedom when we came out of Mitzrayim. Tishrei's got Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, the time we get forgiven for all of our Chatayim, all of our sins. But why is either the month of Cheshvan or the month of Iyar, the 8th month? What is it about the month of Iyar that's above nature? You know, Sefira is supposed to be a journey. Each week of Sefira has a different midah that we're supposed to be working on, with each day within that week a different aspect of that midah that we're supposed to be working on. Sefira is representative of the journey of life. When it comes to life, this is a dichotomy that we all have to learn how to navigate. The highs and the lows, the good and the bad, the happy and what seems sad. I think this is the message I'm supposed to be taking out of Sefira. That we have to learn how to keep on going forward day by day towards Matan Torah. How? Navigating the ups and downs, navigating the highs and lows. On the one hand, Sefira is an exhilarating time. We're counting down the time to Matan Torah. On the other hand, it's a very sad time. We're mourning the Talmidim of Rebbi Akiva who passed away. But at the same time, what are we doing? We're navigating life. We're going through Sefira day by day, working on perfecting ourselves, working on becoming the people that we're supposed to be becoming. Sefira, in essence, is a journey of life, learning how to navigate the dichotomy of life, the ups and the downs that we all experience every single day of our lives. I think this may be why also we can understand now why Iyar and Cheshvan are the 8th months of the year. After Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, Sukkot, comes the month of Cheshvan, we go back to the mundane, we go back to the everyday ordinariness of our life. After Nisan comes Iyar, this time that of Sefira, where there's this up and down, this conflicting up and down. But you know what's above nature? You know what is just above everything else? A Yid who's navigating the dichotomy of life. A Yid who's working on himself throughout the ups and downs, throughout the highs and lows of life. That is something that's above nature. And perhaps that's why the month of Iyar, when we're learning how to navigate this dichotomy during the time of Sefira, the month of Cheshvan, where we go back to the mundane, everyday ordinariness of our lives, perhaps that's why those are the 8th months, because they are really above nature. Because at that time, there is no Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur in that month. There is no Zman of Cheres, of Geula during that month. It's just the ordinary everyday. But what are we doing? We're working on perfecting ourselves every single day, navigating the highs and lows. While we're working through the high points and the low points of our lives, we're not stuck, we're not paralyzed, but we're working on ourselves. And that is something that's above nature. You know, the Talmidim who passed away are Rebbi Akiva. Rebbi Akiva lost 24,000 Talmidim during this time period, but he didn't give up. He started again with 5 Talmidim. But let's go back a little further. Where did the story of Rebbi Akiva really start? Rebbi Akiva was 40 years old. He had never learned anything. He was an Amma Aretz. He didn't know anything. Gemara tells us how he had a hatred for Talmidei Chachamim. And what happened? He saw the water dripping on a rock. He saw water dripping on a rock, wearing down a hole in the stone. And Rebbi Akiva said to himself, if water could drip on a rock and create this hole, then Torah could enter my heart. And the question is, what was so unique? What was so special about this water dripping on the rock that caused Rebbi Akiva to have this tremendous mind shift that all of a sudden he was ready to change his entire lifestyle? We all know about water erosion. It's nothing new. We've all seen riverbeds and streams that have carved their way through the dirt. Water erosion is not a new thing. What was it about the water dripping on the rock that had such an effect on Rebbi Akiva that it enabled him to change his entire life to become the Rebbi Akiva that we all know of? Perhaps the answer is that what is water known for? Water always takes the path of least resistance. That's how streams are formed. That's how rivers are formed. If you ever spill water on a table, you'll watch it, the way it travels. Water epitomizes something that always takes the path of least resistance. Yet, what did Rebbi Akiva see? When water does not take the path of least resistance, when water, instead of just flowing anywhere, but it drips against something that's rock hard, a rock hard obstacle, what happens? Even water, which always takes the path of least resistance, will break through. Perhaps what Rebbi Akiva saw is, the lesson from the water is, that if we want to break through, it's not going to be on the path of least resistance. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult. The breakthrough that we need involves pushing forward against what seems like this rock pushing against us. But you know what? But if we do push forward, then just like the water, we will break through. And this is Rebbi Akiva. After he loses 24,000 Talmidim, what does he say? He does not say, I'm done, I'm retired, I'll find another occupation. He says, no, I am going to start over again. The path of least resistance would be to say, this didn't work out, it's over. I tried, I did my best. He says, no, we're going to start over again with 5 Talmidim, and this ensured that the Torah would not be forgotten from Klal Yisrael. And I think this is a lesson that we have to think about right now, as we're approaching Lag BaOmer, as we're in the month of Iyar, as we're counting Sefira. That number one, we don't want it to be that we go through Sefira and the only thing that we accomplished is that we counted the entire Sefira with a bracha. That no, we're actually supposed to be working on ourselves. Working on ourselves when? As we're learning to navigate this dichotomy of life. Working on ourselves throughout the highs and the lows. Not only working on ourselves when everything is going well and everything is going perfect, but no, when we have the ebb and flow, when we have the ups and downs, we are still working on ourselves, trying to become the best people we could be. Why? Because we realize the breakthrough is not going to be on the path of least resistance.